I'm not even sure which one it is, or other strategies, and your business isn't headed in the direction of your goals, are you frustrated? And are your actions that you're taking all scattered around? It might not have anything to do with that strategy that you're trying.
Mhm.
Today on Make It Click, Tara Brown joins me to help us to understand how the clarity of our goals has everything to do with success. And Tara, this comes at the most appropriate time of the year, the end of one year, the beginning of a new, when goals are something many people set, both personal and in business. Today we're talking about the business goals. Um, and I guess you would say your goals really are the driver of the success or not of your business. I'm so happy to have you here today, Tara, to discuss this. Welcome. What mistakes? Let's start with what's happening now with people setting goals. What do you see is going on with them?
Everyone's been taught to make SMART goals. They've been taught to make them specific, actionable, and all good things. And people think that they're creating very specific goals when they're actually still being fairly vague. So an example I like to give is, can you go to the bank and cash a check for a lot of money? No, no bank can cash that check. But can you go to the bank and cash a check for $10,943,032.48? Absolutely. You want your goals to be so specific that you could walk them into a bank and they could cash that check for you, because you're walking them into, you know, whatever consciousness, life force field, whatever you believe, but whatever it is that helps us create, that's breathing us, you're walking your check, your goals into that to help co-create with you. And so it's really important that you're clear and specific. Like, I was working with a fellow coach recently, and she's like, I said, so how many clients do you want? She said, well, I want 8 to 10. I'm like, is it 8 or is it 10? And why does that matter? 8 to 10 sounds specific. But when I pushed her on that, she kind of backed up. She got really uncomfortable with me. Because if it's 8 or if it's 10, you know when you've made it and you know when you haven't. It's going to make you a little uncomfortable to be that specific. And but that's where the magic is, because you know if you've achieved it or not. And so there's specificity in terms of just the quantity, or is it cashable as a check? So if you're thinking about a business goal, do you have an actual revenue target, not a revenue scale, but a target? And you could have a reach goal, a stretch goal. There's nothing wrong with having stretch goals, or having, like, this is the one I'm focusing in on, and this is my stretch goal. That's fine, but those goals don't want to be on a sliding scale. They want to be a number, a revenue target, something specific.
So I'm just wondering, so do you feel though having that specificity, uh, does it play more of a part up here in our heads versus the actual looking at the books every day and working towards that number? Or is it kind of combination of both? Is that why we need that specificity? Sorry.
It is both. It is both. And there's more to specificity. So the first part is the numbers. I was working with a client yesterday, and she bought the business she's in the last quarter of this year. And we're working on where she wants to be, 3 years from now. That's the time horizon I work with clients on. And she'd like it to be $1 million business. And so when you know that you want it to generate $1 million in revenue in a year, then it starts begging certain questions. How many clients would you need to serve? Well, that is based on what's your revenue per client annual number. And so when you know how much a client pays you, then you can start to know how many you need to serve. So it's a reverse engineering that begins to help you establish the overall goals and metrics that can be built then into a business plan. So in her case, it's like, if they spend $1,000 on average with you, then you would need 1,000 clients to reach that goal. But if they're spending $5,000 on average with you, then you only need 200 clients to reach that goal. And so that's why those numbers are so important, because you start to look backwards and it starts to dictate, well, if you're going to have your clients spend $5,000 in service in a year, but they're only spending $1,000 in service in a year right now. What is it that you can do to add breadth to your service line so that you're providing them with $5,000 worth of value so that they're willing to invest that much in you and stay with you over the course of that year? So we work backwards from that to get to, oh, okay, well, if I were going to serve 200 clients, then the next question is how much resource do you need? How much staff do you need to serve 200 clients? Can you do that by yourself, or do you need a team? And then how many on your team? So it starts to begin to design the office, the staff, and that's just the beginning. Because one of the nuances that is often left in that kind of just very factual, tactical planning is the feeling. How would you feel when you know your business is generating $1 million in revenue, and it's repeatable and it's stable and it's steady? How would you feel? And why do I ask that question? Why is that so important? Because the feeling state is actually an accelerator to create the result. So when you can know, oh, I would feel really accomplished. I'd feel really proud. The feeling of accomplished and proud you can have in this moment. You don't have to wait 3 years to have the $1 million in revenue. But when you do everything in your business stepping forward from that place of, I do $1 million in revenue, I'm feeling accomplished and proud, it actually creates a vacuum. And my background is science. I've worked as an architect. And both my undergraduate degree is a Bachelor of Science. So I'm a big science person. And what do you know? We know the universe abhors a vacuum. So when you put on this feeling and acting as if you're running $1 million business, even maybe your business is only 400,000 right now, you've just created a vacuum in the universe. Like, you're acting as if it's happening now. It's not. The cool thing is then everything conspires to help that happen. And when you stay aligned with that, the word I use is vision to encompass the goals and the feeling. So when you stay aligned with that and you take your actions aligned with there, then time compresses. And I've seen this over and over again with my clients. They achieve the seemingly impossible in short amounts of time by doing that. One of my clients, for example, her name is Barbara. She came to me, she wanted self-confidence and more friends. She ended up building a multi-million-dollar business. And it started with a pillow business that she and her son had that had failed. They sold 2 pillows in 6 months to her mother. I wouldn't know this for 2 years. She didn't tell me that right away. But one of the first things I work with people, especially early stage entrepreneurs, on is establishing a revenue target. And so we look at, like, what's twice you've ever made in a year. And so she had a $50,000 goal for this business. Honestly, had no idea how she was ever going to create that goal. But so we doubled that. And we worked with creating a vision of what it would look like and the feeling. And very quickly, we started working together in February. By the end of that year, she didn't just have a pillow company. She had a furniture manufacturing company. It sold $450,000 worth of furniture. And she didn't know that she had the capacity to design furniture. That came along the way. And by year 2, she had a $1.4 million business. By year 5, they are a national player in the commercial furniture industry. And it just started with setting a goal that she didn't know how to achieve, but that she knew she'd love. And so it's very, very, I can't underscore how incredibly powerful that little tool is. Get clear on what you want, put on the feeling, and act as if it's happening. That would be like that'd be the first thing. That's what I mean by clarity.
Wow. As well, first of all, I'm a firm believer in reverse engineering. It's how I, do everything. If I'm helping a client to prepare for a launch, it's like, okay, there's the end goal. Let's work backwards. That's the only way to really accomplish your goals. But I like what you're talking about, that the getting that feeling. That's not something you typically hear with a business coach. It's just all the tactical things that you need to be doing. So this is a great message for our audience. So you talked about getting very specific in the numbers, and then being decisive. Can you elaborate? Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about this, but getting decisive in those goals.
And so decision, I'd like, when you're listening to this, I'd like you personally, you and the audience, to think about a time when you made a decision and you knew you were having something there is a feeling. There's a feeling in your body that when you are all in and you are decided and you are determined that no matter what, you're going to have it. That's what I'm talking about when I say decision. And no one can do that for you. So when this client who's working towards this $1 million a year revenue goal, she has to step in and decide that she's having it with her entire being. So what happens when we make that decision? We don't wake up tomorrow and ask ourselves, am I going to do that? We don't decide every single day. We decide once. We decide one time, and then we live into it every single day. And so you know when you've made that kind of decision, and you know when you've made the kind of, I should exercise, I'll start tomorrow. You haven't made a decision to exercise. If you look back, I'm still used to this. If you look back there, there's a picture of me in a mountain bike, for example. I decided I wanted to get reasonably good on a mountain bike. And that included getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym or to ride my bike in the middle of the desert. And day after day, month after month, year after year, it would land me on the podium. And in my 50s, and never having raced a bike before, because I made the decision and I lived into the decision every day. Now, there are things that you can do that can help you, because what I guarantee is when you make that decision, there's something that's going to come up. Because if you put a goal that's big enough out there, I guarantee you're not going to know how to achieve it. If it's worthy of you, if it's worthy of your life, you're not going to know how to achieve it. So the invitation is to decide for what you want in absence of knowing how you're going to get there. Mm-hmm. And trust that, just like you said, Christine, that process of reverse engineering will get you to where you need to start right now, and the how will reveal itself along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knowing that that's hard for me to give up. I always have to know, but how is it going to happen? I'm getting much better in that area, but yes, not having to know that right from just making that decision.
Mm-hmm.
So much more beneficial than knowing all the details.
Yeah. There's a really cool thing. If you would imagine, if everyone knows like a little wooden Scrabble tile, with a letter on it looks like. Imagine that every goal that you have takes 100 steps. So imagine in front of you is 100 little Scrabble tiles, 1 to 100. And for most people, they take their step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 97, 98, 99, and they take 100 steps. When you do what I'm talking about, and this is just the beginning of the tools that you can lean into to shorten time. When you work with your goals and with your vision in a certain way, the universe rearranges the playing field. So you take your step, and instead of going from step 1, you go to step 22. And you take your next step, and you're at step 50 and step 65 and step 98, 99, 100. And all of a sudden it might take you 7 steps. What everyone else is taking 100 steps. They're going to look at you in astonishment, like, how'd she do that? My client Barbara was not supposed to, by conventional means, go from having sold nothing to selling $450,000 worth of furniture in 10 months, right? And it's because she did the work. But she did the work in a certain way, so the whole playing field got rearranged. Opportunities showed up for her that she stepped into and said yes. Someone invited her to design a chair and for a company, and she'd never done it before. And she said, okay, she had enough support to believe in herself that she could, and she took the chance and she said yes, and that unlocked her whole business. I bet for you there are opportunities that if you had enough support to believe in yourself, you could say yes, and it would unlock your business in ways that you love and in ways that you could not see from where you are. The thing about those steps, like when you go from 1 to 2 to 3, especially if you're a girl and if you're a woman and you've ever played hopscotch, right? You could jump. Sometimes some of the real good ones could jump from 1 to like 4 and 5, right? Yeah. But none of us could really jump to 10. We just didn't. I don't know anyone that could do that. When you go from 1 to 2, or maybe even 1 to 4, you can see where you're going. But if you go from 1 to 22, I promise you're not going to know what that looks like. Even though it's going to advance you further down the playing field, you have no idea what step 22 is going to look like. And you have to learn how to read the signs and signals.
Mm.
And that's more than I can go into in 15 minutes, but there's a way of doing that that will advance you, and that those opportunities exist right here, right now, right where you are, but we're just not seeing them.
Yeah.
So it's so beautiful, and you're made for success. Absolutely made for it.
So we have about, getting specific. We
Mhm.
need to make decisions. And what's that third
Uh-huh.
piece?
You touched on it already. You said, I don't like, if I don't know how, it gets uncomfortable. The third piece is fear. When you pick something specific, when you decide you're going to have it in the absence of knowing how you're going to do it, I guarantee you fear is going to show up, and it will be a companion on your journey to creating that. And so, have you ever, I know I have. I'm going to be humble enough to admit that there have been times in my life when I let fear drive my car, and I just got fearsome results. There are other times when I was in the driver's seat, but fear was reading the map and was navigating. So I tell my clients, put fear in the back seat. It's going to go. Put it in the back seat, put its lap belt and seat belt on, give it headphones, give it a tablet, give it food and water, take it to the bathroom, but don't let it drive the car. Don't let it navigate. Don't let fear tell you what you can and cannot do, because there's the ideas that you have, the dreams that you have are greater than the fear. You are far more powerful than what you're facing outside of you, whether it's your bank account, the economy, the clients, the contacts, how to market. You are bigger and greater than that. And so fear will be a companion on the journey. So I want to give you a very simple tool, very simple. You can do this anywhere in public, and it'll take me 30 seconds to teach you. It'll take you 3 seconds to do it. But right now, notice in your body, do this with me. Just notice in your body if you have any involuntarily tense muscles. And as I'm standing here, I notice my calves. My calves are tense. I'm standing in front of the mic. Um, and so ask yourself this question. If you have any involuntarily tense muscles, am I safe? So why do I ask that question? Involuntarily tense muscles is a sign that part of us, at least, is in fight or flight, and we're in our reptilian brain. This is part of a much longer teaching, but the tool is very simple. And so there's a part of you that's perceiving threat. There's a part of me that being on camera, being here, Christine, in front of you, is perceiving threat. Oh my God, I might be seen. I might say the wrong thing. I might mess up. I might embarrass her. I might, whatever, right? There's a part of me that's perceiving threat. And so, am I safe? Yeah, I'm in my home. I'm completely safe right now. So once I recognize that, I can just relax those muscles and then move forward. And that is one way to face fear. And it actually will repattern and heal past trauma. It's that powerful, but it's really simple. Just pause and notice, do I have any involuntarily tense muscles? Ask yourself this question, am I safe? Relax those muscles and take the action. And take the action. So fear will be a companion. I
Yeah.
guarantee you. And so it's not to do it without fear. It's just to move forward in the presence of fear, because you deserve to have that life that you love. You deserve to have that business that you've been dreaming of. You deserve it.
Yes. Well, Tara, as you said, there's just so much to everything we talked about. We just can't fit it all in to one episode. Do you have something you'd like to share with our audience so that they could experience more of you, Tara Brown?
Thank you. Yes, I have a gift for you. So one of the ways that I work with clients is on mindset. And the gift is an abundance ebook. It's a series of 50 abundance affirmations. It's beautifully laid out. And with that, you can actually just take in, this would be a decision. Decide that I'm going to live a more abundant life, and just look at that and find the one or two or three that resonate with you and just read them a couple times a day. You can put them on your mirror and just tune into the abundance, the joy, the happiness, the freedom, because you deserve it. And so this would be my Christmas gift to you, if you the holiday gift. I know we're also in Hanukkah. And yeah. And so the website is tinyurl.com/M as in Mary, R as in Roger, C as in Charlie, X as in X-ray, 48, B as in boy, N as in Nancy. tinyurl.com/MRCX48BN. And I would love for you to have that gift, and that you may have the most abundant the most successful 2023 ever. I would be grateful for you to have that.
Well, thank you for that, Tara. I do have one final question for you. And when you think about your own business, since you decided to strike out on your own and do your own thing,
Yeah.
is there something that comes to mind that you can say, wow, that's what really made a difference for me? Something that you learned, something that you implemented. Maybe it's a piece of technology that you're using that you say, wow, this really makes a difference in my business. Does anything come to mind for you, Tara?
Yeah, it's actually, it's really simple and it's really old school. It's a Post-it note, but it's not just so I'm trained as an architect. I've worked for over 20 years as a licensed architect. I've built probably $500 million worth of construction. And one of the techniques that we learned is pole planning, where you'll actually decide where you want to go, begin with the end in mind, and then work backwards. But it's a system of working backwards to get to where the actions that you want to do today. So you start working with milestones and then work with like the closest milestone and kind of work backward with all the things that need to be done. So for example, I've been doing some 3-day challenges, and that would go up on my wall and work backward to identify all the tasks that need to be done. I'm a visual person. I'm not a list person. If it goes on a list in a notebook, it's never seen again. So I need to see it on a tag and take it off the wall and then discard it and know that it's done. So that actually very simple, cheap technology is a huge deal breaker, a huge move, not a deal breaker, a huge move forward. The deal breaker is not doing it. The deal breaker is not planning, whether you're visual, whether you're a list person, but that's what works for me. I'm a visual person.
Well, thank you for that tip, Tara. I'm into my Post-its too. So I agree there. The visual really does help. Thank you so much, Tara, for being my guest today on Make It Click.
What a treat. Thank you, Christine. It's an honor to have been here.